Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're going to talk about how some people in the media are having problems with the way that female characters were treated.
Oh, here we go again. I'm going to call it, I'm a woman. We got this feminism bullshit. Once again, here it comes. And it's not even really true. We're going to prove how this is not exactly true in a minute.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about this article, and then I'm also going to bring up one from the Mary Sue from the other day that, I'm begging you not to write articles that refute a fictional character's sexuality.
And I'm begging you to stop writing articles like that one.
This is the state of comic book journalism right now. It's all Tumblr opinion pieces.
Fan fiction shipping.
We're going to see a lot more salt, I think, from these sorts of media outlets in the coming weeks, months, and years, especially as they get shut down as the ad revenue runs out. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of tears, a lot of salt.
Oh, and also I want to mention, don't harass this
Do
poor
not
girl.
harass anybody. That's not the point.
It's not the point. The point is, but at the end, we see exactly where this is going to go, based on who the author's own biography written by herself.
Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 187,000 subs. We do have blogs ourselves that get quite a significant amount of traffic, but we don't talk about a lot of things that she talks about.
I also have degrees, and here we are.
So,
anyway, so this article, basically, the argument behind this article is that, Karli and other female villains aren't given the ending they should have gotten, like Ghost did in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. That happens sometimes. Sometimes, in Disney movies, the female baddies get off in a pretty horrific fashion.
Right, pretty much all the villains do, and it's a life lesson.
Don't do bad things.
And they usually do it to themselves.
Usually they kill themselves. Yeah, if you look at most Disney deaths, because we have to have the hero be the hero, usually it's the villain offing themselves trying to off the hero.
Right, because they don't know when to quit.
They don't know when to quit.
Which could be, that describes a lot of these blogs in one sentence. So anyway, we're going to do this article, and his article is basically looking at the character. If you've seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, you probably want to stop here, because it might spoil some things. You've been warned. So the character, I think it's Karli. Yeah, Karli, that is in the show. And I watched the show. And the problem with Karli is a sympathetic villain. And the fact that, her motives aren't always bad. It's just that sometimes, in her case, she turned into that she was radicalized. I kept pointing out, she's radicalized, where she becomes, her thought process becomes the ends justify the means. And that is what makes her the villain.
Yeah. A lot of people were drawing parallels between the Flag Smashers and Antifa.
Yeah.
But, how dare they? How dare they?
I know. Well, she is the leader of this group of Flag Smashers who have taken the super serum. So they already pumped themselves up. They juiced up, if you will, to make sure they can fight the oppressors by
punch those Nazis.
Right, by being super soldiers. So, the article basically is talking about how she should have gotten the same treatment that the Ghost character did because, she was in pain. It wasn't her fault. But we can make that argument for a lot of characters. A lot of villains are sympathetic in some ways. Heck, even Thanos. He thought he was doing right, and in some ways he wasn't trying to be bad. He had to kill the thing he loved most and everything else because he truly believed what he was doing was right.
Yeah, and actually a lot of people were like, well, Thanos actually is kind of right if you do the math.
And then we had Black Panther.
Yeah.
What was the character?
Michael B. Jordan's character.
He was another case. It wasn't his fault. He just wanted his family to accept him. He wanted a chance he should have had. It was taken away from him wrongly. He also was a sympathetic villain that had a really good reason to feel the way they did. Also was killed. And they were both dudes.
Yeah, Killmonger, they just sort of dumped him in the ocean.
Oh, yeah, they kind of did. He sat there and watched the sunrise and then croaked. I'm like, so you can't make this argument. It's just women. Yeah. There's a lot of male characters that are sympathetic characters as well that have shitty ends. I'm sorry. That's the way it goes. And they argue here. That's not to say that Marvel can't write female antagonists. Hela and Agatha Harkness are fun, powerful, and gloriously evil, and they're allowed to be unabashedly that. Yes, as is Loki and other characters, and they're still in the stories too.
Yeah, this isn't this isn't a misogynist thing. This is just bad guys that their story ends.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You know, I think the whole thing boils down to if we're going to use you or not later on in the MCU.
Yeah.
That's why their endings, I think, are determined by that, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes they don't plan to, so they have to bring him back. Now, remember, though, in the Marvel Comics universe, and we're starting to see this with the MCU with Loki, too, nobody really dies forever. They can bring anybody back for any point in time.
Except for the Black Widow, because for whatever reason they said she's dead no matter what.
Yeah, because ScarJo's too expensive.
But I'm just saying that she's the only one, for whatever reason, that cannot return according to them.
Yeah, that makes no sense. None of Endgame's time travel stuff made any sense to me.
No, it didn't. But, you know, like Agatha Harkness, do you know they're probably going to use her again? They're bringing the Fantastic Four into it.
Yeah.
And she was fun and gloriously evil. And the counterpart that comes to my mind for her is Loki. And Loki is dead, but he's not dead, and he gets treated completely differently. And then they had the time changed to make sure he still is alive.
My God, could you see the Agatha and Loki show?
I'd watch the Agatha and Loki show.
That would be
one hell of a show.
That actually would be one hell of a show.
I would totally watch that show. But I'm just saying, so you're just like trying to argue that because when we're comparing how narrative, there it is, and the fans treat male antagonists like Loki or Killmonger to how female antagonists like Karli or Trish Walker or others are handled. How are you seeing a difference? Killmonger's dead.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the point. I think the point is I've got my blog and my opinions on intersectional feminism
and
fandom, so I need to write something like that.
Right. You're talking about how it's disheartening pattern. What pattern? The only pattern that there is that I see is we're going to use these characters later in the MCU and these other ones we aren't, so we have to off them. That's the pattern. And there are men and women, and they're treated pretty much the same way depending on the character.
Yeah, now they talk...
Go ahead. Or the story. Continue. No, go ahead. Depending on the character or the story.
So, yeah, they're talking about how Ghost, who got to live, that's basically the point. She got to
Through compassion.
Through compassion. Okay, this kind of goes back, though, to this mindset, and we're going to talk more about cartoons later. The mindset now for a lot of younger people, younger than us anyway, is that you can basically hug the villains, hug them to turn them into heroes, or get them to come around to your point of view. And if that doesn't work, then you have to punch them, I guess. But you have this mindset that all villains can be reformed or should be reformed. Nobody can stay a villain. I mean, look what they did to freaking Hordak in Netflix She-Ra.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah.
Such a joke. Like Hordak in the comics and even the original Filmation cartoon was like, he didn't have a good bone in his body. He was
Demolition Man taught you nothing.
So it's just like, I mean, this is this mentality like, oh, all the bad people are just good people waiting to be good.
But look, I mean, here's the thing. In reality, in the real world, there are people that do bad things that legitimately have reasons for why they do bad things. But then, to be fair, there are people that might suffer similar, things in their life, and they don't turn out the same way. I think if someone's going to be a shithead and do bad things, they're going to be a shithead and do bad things. You can take two people and give them the same experiences, and they come out two different ways. Just because they have bad things happen in their life, it doesn't automatically make you do bad things. So this whole idea that, that sympathetic villains are all sympathetic villains, but men are treated differently than women isn't true in the MCU. I would argue that's really stretching.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, well, it validated her because she was worth saving. I'm like, okay, again, this is this mindset, which is it though? Because we get a lot of people that are like, these types of characters are horrible people and they need to die. They need to face judgment, whatever. They need to be canceled. They need to be whatever. There's no saving them. But because we're talking about women, I guess you're supposed to be...
Yeah, it seems like women should be saved and they're not.
Yeah, but isn't that equal opportunity? Like, for one, we're just talking about movies.
Because, oh dear, you got it wrong. Because when these people say they want equality, they don't mean equality. They mean revenge.
Oh, okay.
They don't mean equality. They don't mean true equality. See, as a feminist, I believe in the true definition of feminism, which is about equality. But a lot of these people believe that it should be, equality is actually revenge as long as it's, they get something more.
Well, thank you for woman-splaining that to me because I didn't understand. Totally. My man brain can't process.
You're completely welcome. I'm so glad I was here to help you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're talking about that and they go on about Karli. Now, it's like her motivations are pieced together through a series of vague conversations over several episodes, which is true. But basically, she had legitimate things to say. She opposed systemic oppression, institutionalized poverty, and the unequal distribution of resources. Well, I agree. I don't think oppression, poverty, or unequal distribution is fair either. I would never have condoned the stuff they had happen in the movie. The problem was, if you hadn't seen it or the show, was that because they brought up interesting concepts which you never think about. So people were snapped away for 5 years. What happened during that 5 years? What happened was countries needed people to come over. So they had people that were from other areas come in, and they were given houses and jobs and things like that, and they had a life. Well, then when it was undone, all those people came back and they wanted their houses and their jobs and their lives back. And then what do? I mean, the whole point is, and they discussed it in the final episode, it's a dilemma. It's a hard one. They put them in camps, basically, refugee camps. So that was their answer. And they were not given the resources they should have gotten. And they did try to keep them, in a position where they didn't get what they needed to change their situation. They were trying to deport them. So they're getting the whole deportation argument in there. So that all that aside, they're trying to say, well, what she was standing for was the right things. And the point of the show was, what is right and wrong? We have to work together to decide, because, it wasn't right what they were doing, but what were you supposed to do with the people that came back? How do you be fair to everyone?
Yeah, well, it's not always possible to be fair to everyone, unfortunately. That is the reality of the world we live in. Sometimes good people die for stupid reasons. Bad people get away with it in the end.
Yeah, it happens. And they said in here that the problem was, and I agree, it wasn't that her ideals were bad. They weren't necessarily bad. What was bad was she believed the means, they unjustified the means. So they kept saying how she was radicalized. And you can see her progressively get, go from where she was trying to help people to be more and more okay with offing certain people or holding people hostage or killing the hostages or whatever to get what she wanted. And that was where she became a problem.
Yeah. But the thing is if you push too far, bad things could happen to you too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. One, it's just a TV show. That's what they're always telling us. It's just a movie.
Right.
So why are you so ass mad about it? But it's not just her character that's getting pushback from these sorts of blogs. Mary Sue, of course, their top story this week.
Are you serious? It's our top story?
Yeah, the most popular story. God. I am begging you not to write articles that refute a fictional character's sexuality.
I am begging you not to harass people, call them names, do all this stuff, crazy shipping stuff, because you decided a fictional character's sexual identity.
Variety writer Adam B. Very, is that his real name?
I don't know.
Adam B. Very doesn't treat fan theories and shipping around Bucky as a joke, which is appreciated. The primary problem is the headline, the way that Skoglund interacts with fanish ideas. Of course, the Marvel movie's glaring lack of queer representation.
Oh my God. If you had to represent every damn person, every type of person ever, the movie would have a ridiculous amount of characters and couldn't get made. I am sorry, but that's just the reality of the situation.
Oh, God. So, yeah, it's just like they can't stand it if these characters, again, fictional characters, doesn't go the way you want it to go. And again, people do get invested in these characters. They have ideas of who these characters are. I guess my feeling on all this is like, now you know what it's like when you see somebody like Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. When you have your expectations subverted. How come it's okay to have all the man babies crying because their expectations were subverted, but when it happens to you, when you expected bisexual Bucky, or
even though there was no indication of that at all,
or Karli to have a happy ending, how come you can't stand it?
Well, and here, but the thing about Karli too is we don't know what's going to happen with that, because the question is, now Sharon Carter supposedly trained her and the group have made them who they are, and now Sharon Carter is getting her job back and walking away, and you're setting her up to see that she may be the villain. It just could be that was a plot device, and that's what she was there. She was the catalyst for something more important, to make for greater change moving forward. You don't know yet. But anyway, back to this. I'm so tired of this whole shipping bullshit, because these people, like on the Mary Sue here, decide a character's sexuality, fictional character sexuality, because they decide it's going to be what they want it to be, even if there's no indication to the contrary. they're going to decide it, and everybody else is supposed to just bend over backwards to make their dreams come true.
Well, they're calling out pride, because the director basically came out and said, no, that's not the case. But they're like, we didn't explicitly say it wasn't the case, just they hadn't really, that wasn't their intention.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
Get over it.
Now I see folks on social media claiming Marvel felt the need to directly respond on the matter of Bucky's sexuality, probably because you guys are all nuts. As though the studio itself issued a press release, none of that happened about his canonical heterosexuality. On the other hand,
what does it matter? It's not even important to the story.
Oh, here we go. On the other hand, the director, Skoglund, and Variety, if they are as aware of the intense fandom involvement and reactions to various episodes as it seems, all of this could have been done with more sensitivity. They could have been more sensitive
to our ship that they didn't ask us for, that we decided on our own.
Headlines and articles like Variety's just became further weapons that trolls and the antis can arm themselves with on our infinite internet battlefields.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Fuck yourself! Sorry, Mom. I'm like so effing tired of this. Let me get this straight. You guys decided as shippers that, and by the way, yours is just one ship. There's a whole page full of ships. What about all their ships? Their ships are invalid because you decided it was Bucky was bi. What about people who want Bucky with Rocket? That's not valid because you didn't like that ship. Okay. You decide then a ship of a character based on nothing but your own desires. And because they don't give you what you want, it's because they're weaponizing trolls and on your infinite internet battlefield because you didn't get your fucking ship. Sorry. You know what? This is stupid. This is just downright stupid. The only times I don't get what I wanted, a good Luke Skywalker. I didn't get that in Disney sequel trilogy, but I'm told I'm an istophobe. But you're completely okay when you don't get what you want and you whine about it on the Mary Sue. Mary Sue didn't have whining. They have nothing to talk about.
I was just thinking, they're talking about the names for the ships.
Oh, they brought the other ones? I do bring that up in there? Okay.
So we've got Steve Rogers.
Someone must watch us.
Steve Rogers and Bucky being Stucky.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's Rocket, Steve Rogers, and Bucky, is that Suck It?
There you go, Suck It. That's my ship, so Suck It, Mary Sue.
Oh my God. So
I'm just so tired of these ridiculously extremist blogs going around calling everyone names because they don't get their fucking ship.
Whether you get it or not, fans have been involved in creating transformative works, meta cosplay, and other deeply committed activities centered around Bucky and other MCU characters being queer for years.
Because, wait. So basically, because on our own, we have made up these fanfics and these different cosplays and different organizations and groups about him being bi, because we decided that should make him canonically bi because our small group has decided and we put time and energy into it.
Yes.
What about people who put time and energy for years into like the She-Ra fandom or the Star Wars fandom? And then it got all changed around in the name of diversity. And then when they had a problem with it, and it might not even be about the diversity, it might be completely cool with that. It might just be because they didn't like the way one character was treated or the way the cinematography was or the costume or whatever. Then people like the Mary Sue go around and call them names. Well, that's just the way it is, because that's the official way. Okay, fine. But then your argument is because we have our own mind have made it this way. It has to be canonically that way because we put so much time and effort into it. Decades-long fandom. She was for 35 years and you went and changed it, but when people were upset, they were just istophobes.
How the turntables.
I know, right?
Oh, how the turntables.
It's called karma.
It's called Karli. No, Karma's a ship between Karli and somebody whose name rhymes with Arma.
Ranma.
Ranma. Fans generally know they're not going to get the queer fandom pairings of their dreams from the studio, but that doesn't mean creatives have to rain on the parade either.
So basically, they only called it out because you guys were pushing it so much. You know, we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and insisting it's this way until they actually feel like they have to come out and clarify it because you will not stop pushing it. And then you're pissed because they came out and clarified it because you wouldn't stop pushing it. I mean, am I getting this? I mean, this is pretty much what's going on.
I think they watched our video because, look, this is what
I told you they did because they knew about the shipper names.
The thing is, it's absolutely true that physical and emotional intimacy between men doesn't have to connote romantic or sexual tension, but it's equally true that sometimes it does, and there's nothing wrong with reading it that way, exploring it in transformative works, and wanting it to be canon.
No one's saying it's wrong. What we're saying is it's wrong when you decide that's the way it is and you try to push that on anybody else. And anyone who doesn't agree with you, you call names for not agreeing with you. And then you harass the showrunners and everything else. Everything you said everybody else was wrong for doing with Star Wars, you yourselves do. And then you sit there and say, well, it's not wrong for us to do it. It's like, well, if it's wrong for them to do it, it's wrong for you to do it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that and writing fan fictions. But when you're insisting and demanding, and you're having articles like this because you didn't get your own way, that's when it looks wrong.
Yeah, so this is, the shoes on the other foot, basically.
That's all this is.
You
and
guys,
I'm screaming about it.
Yeah, I mean, all of you guys, you've spent years attacking the man babies. It was totally cool to run people down who actually had concerns with how canon was being tossed aside. I mean, we're talking canon, not head canon, but actual canon.
There's a difference.
Being flushed down the toilet to chase this crowd a lot of times, right? And now the companies are coming back and being like, hey, yeah, let's, walk that back. And they don't like it. This is...
Well, in the case of the Bucky and Sam, they never actually said that they were together or they were,
Never.
And they just decided it. And now they're mad because they didn't get their own way. Yeah. And then people are calling them out for them having a meltdown about not getting in their own way. And then they're literally having articles crying about it.
Yeah, they're like, you need to be more sensitive. You need to be more...
Yes, they were so sensitive when I didn't like the fact they ruined Luke Skywalker. And you guys called me, all kinds of names, misogynist, internalized misogynist, istophobe, same with She-Ra. No one said, well, you need to understand it. In my head, it's that way. Or maybe they have a different, point of view. Maybe we shouldn't be so mean. You fucking didn't. We're nice. We're not nice then.
Literally called us Nazis. Literally called us alt-right. We had freaking ridiculous hit pieces written on, Star Wars fans who were angry about canon, actual canon.
And Mary Sue is one of the ones that joined right in on that shit.
Yeah, they did. Keep your hot takes to yourself.
Yeah, men and everything else. I just love how, you're not supposed to be mean, and you don't have to be mean about it. As the people that are being mean about the whole fucking time are now like, well, you shouldn't be mean to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for swearing so much. I'm sorry for using the F word so much, but I'm this angry about it because I am so tired. And it has nothing to do with the writers per se. I don't want anybody, harassing these people. Because there's only a little bit of difference between us and them. I mean, when you read her backstory, a lot of things she has, I have a similar, experience with. The difference is she's pushing agendas that aren't there and I'm not. I'm just like so tired of this shit.
God, actually, there are people that are kind of blasting the Mary Sue in the comments. They said, yeah, headcanon and ship preferences are actual canon.
Exactly.
Look, there's a right way and a wrong way, I think, to have the discussion. But again, the difference between a lot of the Star Wars fans, I'm just using Star Wars as one example, Star Trek fans, Doctor Who fans, is canon, actual canon, has been flushed. And the fans have been denigrated fiercely. So you not getting a ship is like, cry me a fucking river, like years. We've spent years calling out journalists that have been writing these ridiculous hit pieces on fans, who had their expectations subverted. But again, this wasn't a ship. This wasn't headcanon. This is actual canon being flushed. And now you guys are like, well, in my head it was this way. And then they have the director come out and say, now you're mean.
You hurt my feelings.
Oh my God, don't be so mean, guys.
Some of the most rabid, vicious, bullying trolls I've ever seen are people that are like this headcanon bullshit. And then they're going out there like, I mean, we've gotten threats, we've gotten attacked, we've gotten harassed constantly because we didn't like their version of something. But you can't, don't you dare make a headline that says that, I know it's true that he's not bi, but I don't want to see the headlines about it because it hurts my feelings. I'm like, really?
Oh my God, it's like Supernatural all over again. People still going on about Dean being bi when there was zero indication in the show for the character beyond people using offensive stereotypes or the writers. So it's just like, they're talking about, they even brought up Iceman. They're like, they just one day Iceman's gay for no reason.
Right. And someone brought up about the Bucky. They said some of the other characters you could argue some changes because in the story it wasn't very clear, but they made it very clear in the comics that he and Natasha had a thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
who doesn't like a redhead?
So I don't know, guys. This is just, everybody's getting ass mad about it. And this is going to continue. Look, this is the thing. These companies have spent the last 5 years courting this audience, and we could have told you. A lot of us could have told you
We did tell you.
that this audience is never going to be happy with anything you do. They're coming after the attractions. You're changing attractions to be more inclusive. I guarantee you they're going to find problems.
It's not about that, actually.
No.
They're using that as the excuse.
I'm using little air quotes here. But I guarantee you they're going to find problems with them. They're going to find problems with your movies going forward. They won't be inclusive enough. If you don't make characters explicitly the way that they think they should be, you're going to get pushback. So you're going to see the truth here, Disney and other studios, that you're effectively chasing the wrong audience.
You're pandering. You're going to these small amounts of people. And you're trying to make all your decisions based on the small percentage of people instead of the larger percentage of people. And then you're like, why are we not doing well? And I'm like, I'm 100% for inclusivity, and diversity, inclusivity, I guess is what I'm looking for. 100% for it. But you have to understand it has to be representative as well. And they're taking like every character ever and trying to put some kind of checkbox on them. That's not really representative of the actual real world. Sorry, and probably me cancel for saying it. I don't care. It's the truth if you look at numbers.
So what's going to happen is, but the problem is you put a check mark or two on a character, you're leaving out dozens of other check marks.
Right, and they're mad.
And they're mad. So
you can't include everyone. And it's not representative either. And the thing is, it's like, no matter what you do, there'll always be somebody who's going to be mad about it or want something changed. And my next comment is, if you don't like the characters being the way they are, make new characters. I mean, it's kind of insulting. I've heard it from several people who aren't white, straight, and male, that it's very insulting to them that instead of getting a new character, they just take a popular character and appropriate it to their checkboxes because they don't think making a new character with those attributes is going to actually be popular. You have to have a popular character and then change that character instead. That's actually really insulting.
Yeah, it is. You're getting hand-me-downs.
Exactly.
Hand-me-downs.
No one wants the hand-me-downs. I'm just tired of it. If you don't like it, make characters that are those things and then get a fan base for them, and there you go.
All right, so we're going to wrap this one up.
Yes.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. And we'll talk to you later.
Bye.